Hey! Hello. We're over this way. Right. You won't be able to see everyone brilliantly, but there's a room full of people there waiting to talk to you. Okay, keep talking to me, let me just get volume right. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Calm down. Okay, go for it, right? Everyone, this is Simon. Simon, this is everyone, even though you can't really see him.
Yeah, no, I can see them, yeah.
Wave, students, wave.
Nice.
Alright. Right, cool, all the way from Leeds. Okay, so who's going to kick things off? George? Yeah? Alright.
Regarding your first EP, It's Turning Me On, what's the message you're trying to get across?
So I heard the first bit, so you have to shout the second bit. Regarding the It's Turning Me On EP.
What's the message you're trying to get across?
Very good question. Well, just to contextualise that, I think that was released in 2002. And we've kind of had a fairly ad hoc way of coming up with cover images. And that was a photograph that was taken by Rachel, our violin player. And like really, because just with the title of it, we just kind of we literally scattered maybe like 10, 15 photos that we'd found that we thought were interesting images, and kind of just went for one. And it wasn't, I don't think there's any specific thing I get as a girl put on her makeup or whatever, but there was not, other than that, we thought it reflected the whole thing, because there's more tracks on that EP as opposed to that one as well. We thought kind of the getting ready for a night out feeling, and it was, I don't know, something quite lonely about the image as well that we liked, because all the songs are pretty pretty dark, really, pretty unhappy about their lot. And we thought there was something reflective in that picture. That's why we took the picture and got it line drawn instead, which back in 2002 was harder to do. If only Instagram had existed then, life would have been a lot easier. So no massive reflection really in the image, other than we thought it was kind of lonely and it was kind of interesting in relation to all the songs on the record.
Well, anybody else? Next. We did. Do you know what? I arranged who was going to kick things off. We then didn't discuss who was going to go next. So now there's a lot.
Right, mate, that's fine. I'm a teacher. I know the score.
Okay.
Was there any reason for the lowercase letters, or was that just a design thing?
Oh, sorry. You have to shout it, so you might have got me phone's really quiet. Go ahead.
Was there any reason for the lowercase letters, or was that a design?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the pretentious reason is I like the poetry of E.E. Cummings, who is somebody who plays with typeface a lot. And I always find it interesting that he uses kind of lower and uppercase in odd ways. Actually, it was just aesthetically, it just became a thing. It was just we don't do capital letters. So all our websites and all our press releases had no capitalization anywhere, not for names, not for the letter I, nothing like that. And it just became that's what we do. We were trying to kind of attach a look and a feel to things, make it consistent, so none of our records, I don't think any of them have capitals on them, I can't remember now, but certainly at the beginning we were just anti-capitalist.
Okay. As we ask questions, can you keep doing that lean over the way you just did? Because it looks like you're putting your ear against the camera, which is quite amusing.
Alright.
Okay, anybody else? Come on, who's up next?
Come on, gorgeous.
Okay, does the colour palette match the music?
The the red thing we had. Again, not necessarily match the music, although, yeah, I guess I could draw some sort of tenuous link, but again, it was more like the capitalisation thing. Like, we wanted to have a Marlowe colour. Like, a bit, like, I was banging into the white stripes, and I loved the fact that they kind of decided they were going to use 3 colours in everything, and that was going to be their thing, and becoming creative within those really strenuous guidelines. Like, so for them, it was all about, well, we're not going to have bass guitar, we're only going to have 2 people playing, we're going to use 3 colours, and it was kind of, how creative can you be when you're trapped by those boundaries? So we just wanted a colour. We wanted one colour, we were really going to go for it. So again, all the website, everything was that kind of like magenta colour, but no, nothing really linked to the music other than like we just wanted to say that's our colour. That's Marlowe red, as we used to say.
For the next album, which was Dark Sparkle Corner, how does the image relate to your music? Because it's changed from the first one.
Well, that one's probably the most personal. It was our first record, and it was before I understood anything about the music industry and kind of how it works and how making records works. I was still very much in the stage of it where I believed everything everybody told me, which was a lovely place to be for a while. And that, again, so on that record, I asked all my friends who I'd been in bands with, or people who had been strong influences on me in the previous few years, or like girlfriends and like friends or people I've been in bands with, and I asked them all to send me a photograph that I included as like a collage in the middle. I don't know if you've seen the fold-out, but there's a fold-out in the middle and it's a collage of all these pictures which were sent to me by my friends. So that album, because it was the first one I'd ever made, it felt quite personal, and that photograph I discovered flicking through my mum's photo album. It's my cousin, who I barely know, like maybe I've met once or twice, back in the sort of probably late 60s, early 70s, being very surprised by a photograph taken of them in the middle of the night. And as we called it, Dark Sparkle Corner, and we were going for these kind of counterpoints of, you know, light and shade. And I quite liked the way it was clearly a darkened room, but there was a light being sort of screamed into his face, scaring the life out of him. And the music, yeah, did reflect that. It was kind of, I mean, it's not a very good record. It's all over the place. We really didn't know what we were doing, but what it did have was lots of loud, quiet, dark light. It had a lot of opposites in it. So I guess the artwork did kind of reflect that. But a lot of that's in hindsight. I just like the picture. Yeah, it was probably my favourite one. It's probably my favourite. Best cover, worst album.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about management and stuff, and those early decisions? How involved were they? Was it your decisions actually, or did other people play a part?
In the selection of the artwork.
Yeah, in the cover design. So the first
so
two.
Again, I didn't really know what I was doing quite clearly, but my record label, which I'm still with today, it's very much a one-man show, and it's in the kind of definition of independent records. He runs this label from his living room in Liverpool, and it's kept going since the late 70s right through now. It's the only one that survived kind of the digital revolution and all these things. It's still going, and he has a very specific way of doing things, and kind of the label very much reflects him. But I was surprised at the freedom I was kind of given. He kind of just okayed that kind of thing. The main decision for the artwork subsequently was through the art designer for the label, a guy called Steve Hardstaff. Not sure what you'd find about Steve if you googled him, but God knows. But he was quite famous back in the 60s and 70s. He did those, there was sort of posters that were ubiquitous in student halls in the sort of 90s and the 80s, and it was kind of like Jimi Hendrix, psychedelic Jimi Hendrix pictures where the image had been photoshopped out with like crazy psychedelia in the background, which again, you've seen quite a lot, sort of Hendrix or Andy Warhol or these kind of 60s counterculture icons. And he kind of started all that, the sort of tie-dye imagery. He was responsible for a lot of that in the 60s and 70s. He worked on Sgt. Pepper's, he worked on Houses of the Holy by Led Zeppelin. So he was quite an influential graphic artist. And then he somehow got tied up with our label. And so all of the album covers, apart from the test card one, have gone through him. I've usually found an image or something, and then he's kind of refined it into something else. So my only, the only like point of call that I have to kind of get through to get artwork through is a little bit the head of the label, and then Steve. But he always makes things look weird and kind of colourful, and there's a bit of to and fro-ing usually. Usually he goes a bit mad and puts a lot of crazy things on it, and I have to say, do you mind not putting the really crazy things on it? That Dark Sparkle Corner one, I think on the back cover, he had like a really weird picture of a dog on the back. just like a snap of a dog, which made no sense at all. And I had to kind of say, I know you're a really famous graphic designer, but I don't know why there's a dog on the back. So yes, that's the kind of the way through it. Bit of label, bit of art design, but basically they're all things we chose.
Okay, anybody got a Day in July question? Move on to the next one? Or... Nick, you wanna go for it? Anybody? Dead air, people? Got dead air? What's going on?
I can talk about it.
Is there a reason why it's so contrasting to the album cover before?
Contrasting to the album before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The general feeling here was that Dark Sparkle Corner was quite dark and moody and menacing, and
Yeah.
Day in July in its imagery and its title and everything was
Yeah.
quite breezy and light in some way.
Yeah. Well, I'd learned, Day in July was 4 years later. We'd done the EP in the meanwhile. And the album that kind of came out, in terms of like any, critical acclaim that the band got, A Day in July was the kind of high point. And that record got lots of NME and Q and MTV and Radio 1 coverage. So there was a process of learning that went on between the albums. The first one it sounds like somebody who doesn't quite know what they're doing. This one sounds like somebody who knows what they're doing, but just hasn't decided what they want to do yet. So A Day in July as an album it's all over the place. It sounds like about 6 different bands. And again, that's kind of with hindsight. It's just it kind of what came out really at the time. But A Day in July was the title track, was the first track on the record, and I liked it as a title for an album. I liked the idea of it having a summery feel, and yes, as a contrast to the first one. And yeah, the second album is much easier to listen to than the first one, and doesn't have the same. It has a variety of sounds, and it has a variety of textures, and it has a brightness that I thought A Day in July reflected. And we recorded it in July. It's the other obvious thing. And the image is, so Jeff, who runs the label, went travelling a lot when he was a younger man. Back in the day when you could like stroll through the Middle East without a visa or even a passport, I think at times, and stay in Iraq and Afghanistan and explore all these places. So he's got hundreds and hundreds of photographs. And the one on the front of A Day in July is taken from the top of a mountain in Nepal, and the two kids in it were just happened to be there. And it was just a vista he took, and so as we were looking for images, he was saying, have a look through these, and I thought it fitted nicely. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Hang on.
How did you market your albums?
Market the albums.
Yeah.
So by the time of the first album, we didn't do any marketing. We stuck them in envelopes. It's a very different time in '99, of course. So we stuck them in envelopes and we sent it to people at Radio 1 and Q. And we were largely ignored. We got one review in the big issue, which said, it gave us 2 stars and said, after listening to this album, the urge to put on an ABBA record is quite overwhelming. Which I still remember, obviously. And we managed to get a bit, John Peel, who's legendary Radio 1 DJ, played a couple of tracks, and we did get a nice review in Q. So we had something, but then for the second album, I'd learned a bit more, and so we started to work with PR companies and pluggers. We found a lady in London called Anna Goodman, who was a kind of a world music promoter in general, but she was a hard worker. And through that time, we used a lot of quite famous PR companies, but she was the best by far because she was extremely tenacious. So Anna would take it to press and radio and online. We did shows across the country. We did shows in Europe. We went to America to do some shows. And we got some really lovely reviews for that record. But sold about 6 copies. So it's so the marketing strategy as it was just try and get it on the radio and TV, which we did, and then we kind of sat back going, right, well, we'll wait for all the sales to roll in, and they didn't. We sold a few hundred, essentially. Sold a few more gigs, but you sort of think if you're on the telly and on the radio and in the newspapers that people might buy your record, but actually it's not true. So if anyone wants one, just give us a shout.
Boxes full of.
The proper me sofa.
That lock-up that you've got is still, yeah. Okay. Should we talk about Deep Breathe Faker? Anybody? Georgie, you go? Oh no, go on.
I was just going to ask, what's the story behind the anatomical illustration on the cover?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Deep Breathe Faker, what's the story behind the anatomical front
Yeah. Yes, it's probably my least favourite cover. I think it looks a bit cheap, that one. I think it looks a bit rushed.
Interesting,
again,
yeah, I really like that one. Yeah. Everyone thought that was your strongest at this end.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, well, it looked like it had reached a point where you were more confident in what you're doing, was the general feeling here.
Well, we had musically, like that album is the most consistent by a long way. It sounds like a band who know what they sound like. And yeah, I guess the image does reflect that. I just didn't really like the way, I found it online. I was just looking for science diagrams of people breathing. And it went through Steve and he made it a bit colourful and that kind of thing. But I just found it a bit flat. But I agree that it's a stronger image because it's one simple thing. You could use that as a backdrop to everything and it would make sense. But I just didn't like the way it came out in print, really. I just thought it looked a bit... I didn't think it looked necessarily like a really professional band that produced that CD, the way it looked. It's only 2 colour. We didn't spend a lot of money on it. But as an image, yeah, it worked quite well because, like I say, that was the track I wanted to do, and that track is all about being stuck on a plane, breathing in recycled air, and feeling paranoid. So it kind of fitted with all that. But found it online, gave it to Steve. That was a really rushed job. I didn't put a lot of thought into that one. Maybe I should do that more often.
Who do you think everybody thought it looked like an album of?
Don't know. It could be kind of rock.
Coldplay was the general feeling.
Can I tell you my embarrassing Coldplay story?
Yeah, go on, go for it.
It's name dropping this as well. We did a gig in Liverpool around that time, and Coldplay were recording in Liverpool, and they were at the gig with Gwyneth and all of that. And I didn't know they were there, and I didn't realise that I was influenced by Chris Martin at all, because I'm not a massive Coldplay fan. But for some reason, I had on an outfit which was literally identical to the outfit he just worn in this video, and the same guitar. And I stood on the stage and I looked out, and like I could just see Chris Martin like shaking his head, like, look at this idiot literally copying what I just wore in a video. And I was too embarrassed to speak to him, so I spoke to Gwyneth instead. Coldplay story.
Cool. Okay, should we move on to the Test Card album?
Okay. Why did you start something new? Like do a different name?
Why the change? Why did you start something new? They don't know what Test Card is
Right.
at all.
Is it
Just
quite
like-
clear from the artwork that it's something else though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No red.
No red.
No red.
Marlowe kind of died after Deep Breeze Baker. Although it was probably our best sounding record, we had like a management deal, and we kind of got a bit messed around, and we made these awful remixes that sounded a bit like Busted, to try and get us management deal, and a bigger record deal, and they were trying to make us sound like the Killers or things like this. And the reality was we were kind of a clangy indie band that couldn't really do that. And that album, although it was probably the best sounding, it didn't go well. So we called it a day after that one. And Test Card I'd been in for ages. Actually, I've been in that band from around the same time, but we just took ages and ages to make a record. So it's kind of an electro pop record. It sounds like Pet Shop Boys or something, or Erasure, or probably more relevantly to its time, something like Hot Chip.
I was just going to say, so they haven't heard of the Pet Shop Boys or Erasure,
Yeah.
probably.
Let's say Hot Chip.
That's how old you are, just to remind you.
Or like LaRue, maybe, that kind of thin electro bleeping with some singing on top. So the artwork, because it was on a different record label, the artwork didn't go through Steve, and I guess that's why it's so different. Have you seen the actual disc?
No, because I can't find it. But
So, okay, again, I've got a few of them. It's printed on card. It wasn't like a normal CD. It's the grey design is a card with the lines and the diagram kind of scratched into it. It's a very thick piece of grey card, which has a map attached to the back, but a map with no names. And then it's kind of wrapped up with that white thing with the red stamp. And it was kind of like, that cover, that sleeve was a piece of art in itself. It was designed by a company called Rip and Burn, who are Liverpool graphic designers. And the lines are just kind of representing, I don't know if any of you are music producers or anything, but if you've ever worked on even GarageBand or Logic or Pro Tools or any of these things, kind of music's composed in these beautifully designed little blocks of music and bars and colours. So we were kind of aping that computer screen. But it's a lovely, lovely piece of artwork. It took ages, and it took a lot of sticking and gluing to put it all together and send it out. But yeah, because it was totally different band, and the two other guys in the band were very strong on what they felt the image should be. They're responsible for all kinds of electronic music promotion in the Northwest, so they're kind of very involved with that scene. So that's where that came from. But very different.
should we just establish what you do in these bands? Because we haven't actually talked about it and I haven't told them. So, in terms of your role in them.
In Marlowe, I was like the singer-songwriter. And in Tesco, I was just the singer. I was a bit like the hired hand. There was 2 producers who worked on it, so I just came in and sang. And then there was another record where I was the producer. So yeah, I'm kind of a writer. I've got, I work for a publishing company, and when I'm not being a primary school teacher, I'm writing bad songs for other people to sing.
Okay, last one then. Should we talk about Rocha?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on. Is there a question coming there? Or?
I might have some stuff to show you actually. I don't know, well it'll work. Would you like to see how we ended up with that cover?
Yeah, go on.
I've got like the prototypes and then where it ended up. Hang on, I'll have to just play it up my screen then. So, we started with that, which is a shot of a church lying down on the floor of a church and shot straight up. And I liked the kind of the religious element of it because the songs are quite evangelical and stuff. So I like the idea of doing a roof of the church, but I thought it was quite a simple design, so I said that. No one agreed. So it went to that. And I really liked this kind of section, this kind of, map with, it reminded me of a Queens of the Stone Age thing, a map, a river of blood kind of thing. Hated the border. Looked like sort of bad pebble dashed walls. That got rejected. So we moved to something that is kind of recognisable. Yeah. The main irritant with that was, look, like smiley face. I didn't think it was appropriate for the smiley face. And just the colours, my God. Yeah, and then kind of went to what it was. We didn't like the font either, and obviously changed the expression on the face.
Where did you get that image from?
Yeah, so this is important. I would love to claim credit, but it's taken from a piece of artwork by a guy called J.G. Posada, who's a really influential Mexican artist who's responsible for have you ever seen the Day of the Dead skeleton drawings? There's a festival called the Day of the Dead in Mexico where people celebrate the loved ones that have gone. And the images that are often used are kind of different actions and different scenes, but everybody has like a skeleton face. And they're really beautiful and kind of morbid and lovely. And he worked up to about 100 years ago, and he was kind of a satirist of his day. So that piece of artwork is kind of a composite of something he'd done where Steve had kind of played with it. Partly that was kind of like a copyright thing because we didn't want to, if you kind of amend images, you have more leeway with copyright. As it stood, I was really worried about that because I didn't think it was right to rip off a 19th century Mexican artist who died penniless. So we found out it was out of copyright anyway. It was over 100 years since that picture was done, and Steve had kind of done his thing with it, and we put a dedication to him in the sleeve notes, and we made a donation to a Mexican orphanage as a payment. I think it's over the top personally. I'm not sold on this. Although the album is kind of mariachi, it's got a kind of Mexican flavour. I thought it was too obvious, really. I mean, it's a lovely image, and that kind of Western ideology. But I would have preferred something more simpler and a bit cleaner, personally. But it was a bit stressy, and it was a bit kind of like we've been back and forward debating it for a while, and the album had to be released, and there was time pressures, so I just kind of said, yeah, okay. So yeah, I do like it, and it's kind of stuck with us the last couple of years, but I just thought it was too obvious for the kind of music.
So is there no particular reason why the red is coming back?
Sorry.
The red. Is there a reason why the red is coming back? Or
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Oh, because Roja is red in Spanish.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and is it the Marlow? It's close to the Marlow red. But yeah, no, we just wanted, that was why, because of the name.
Okay.
How come you weren't on any of the front covers?
We're not on it.
Yeah, how come you aren't on any of your front covers or none of the bands? on any of them? Even the good looking
Yeah.
ones?
We don't know. We just kind of, I don't know. No one really wants to see us, to be honest. I'd like, even when we made videos and stuff, like the video for the Roja record is like a live performance video, and I was really uncomfortable with that whole process, to be honest. I love writing songs and making records, but I guess when we did press photos and stuff, it always looked daft, to be honest. You know, really awkward poses and trying to stare at the camera with your kind of pop star face on.
I'll show them some pictures later.
Hang on, try and do it, hang on.
It's good.
That was what I did in every photograph for 10 years. Why would you put that on an album cover? So no, I think the only covers I like where people are in them are like, you know, like the 1970s ones where it's kind of unashamedly like a really big close-up on someone's face, big smile.
Like Stevie Wonder or something.
Like Bill Withers does
Bill
on all
Withers,
his
yeah.
records. And I ain't got the afro right to pull that off. So, yeah, we just thought it would be, you know, in a kind of an artistic sense, it wasn't really about us. It was about the tunes, and I think the artwork represented it better than a photo of us trying to look moody would.
Okay. Any other questions? No? We good? Alright, we'll let you get on with writing some reports.
Yeah, it's the rock star lifestyle.
Alright, thanks very much.
Cheers, Bob.